So as we come into this time of shared blessing in the quiet, I ask that you pray with me and for me that all that love wants to express through me will arise from my heart and my words. As we center into the stillness, pay attention, if you will, to this body of yours. Sense where you are supported, where you're seated. Noticing all of the places where the back of your body is touching, resting against the chair or the bench. And see if you can soften into that support. And then notice your hands, these hands that are how we give and receive love in so many ways. You might let them fall open to receive, or let them rest over your heart to feel your heart beating and the movement of your breath in and out of your body. As you sense your breath, that is the breath of God, softening you. In this moment, in this space, remember who you are. Remember who you are. Let your fears and worries, your heartbreaks, and even your joys, let them fall away. In this moment, open your eyes and your heart, the eyes of your heart, to see the inner seeing, the inner knowing that love is your essence. Love is the ground of your being. Love sets you free. Love invites you to set free those whose hearts are knotted in yours. Sense your love flowing in and out with each breath. Sense the presence of another being near you in body or in spirit, whose love is also flowing forth with each breath. sense that you, that I, that we are each a breathing, life-giving cell in the heart of the world, showing up as love. And in this moment, as we remember who we are, we breathe love. Love that heals all of the broken places. In our big, beautiful world and in our own worlds. We are love. We are love. And bring your awareness back into your body with a deepening breath. Letting your eyes open as you look around this space or the space you're in to see the presence of love where you are. And let that feed your heart in this moment. So this morning I'm going to weave a few threads that I relied on in these days this week when the world around me made it hard for me to remember that love is the ground of our being. So my question as we begin is, what does it mean to walk an Advent journey into cultivating the seeds of hope, of faith, of peace, of love, of joy, when the darkness of the world's senselessness, the violence, oppression, war, and blind hatred rage all around us? What difference does it make for us to walk this Advent journey? So into that question, I offer this wisdom from a beautiful book whose title I did not write, so I'm sorry. But this is the wisdom of Macrina Whitaker in a book written by she and Joyce Rupp. In Advent and winter's darkness, we are called away from anything that would hinder our being. The way to that holy space within is the way of surrender. If we want to know God, we must give up all of our ideas about God. Give up our ideas about God. And let the Holy One teach us from within. If we want to know God, we must be willing to sit in the darkness, consumed by our longing. We will reach our well of knowing only when we have the courage to leap into our well of unknowing. There, in that place of unknowing, the soul is taught to trust. In that sacred space, we learn to ask questions without needing answers. The question is part of the quest. She continues, as we arrive at this dark winter time of year, we turn our thoughts to the positive aspects of darkness. We meditate on the fertile, unexplored, deep parts of our being, where so much creative energy, so much Christ energy awaits us. The seed in the ground does not curse the darkness. Like the seed, until we surrender to the one who awaits us, we will not feel at home in the darkness. God is always waiting for us, longing for union with us. If we can become silent enough, perhaps we will become aware of God awaiting us. I am the one for whom God waits. I am awaiting the one who is awaiting me. God is love. As God has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in me. There are beautiful passages in Scripture about God as love. But what does it mean in the darkness when we can't get to that place of stillness easily because our ideas of God actually get in the way? That we want God to answer the questions already. These scriptures were written thousands of years ago. Get it together, God. What is happening? It is so hard to let go of those ideas of God as something out there that we're waiting for. God within is waiting for us to wake up. So when we release those ideas, maybe we can bring in a sense of that presence into that challenge for me this week. My little brother, it's not for nothing we call ourselves the Alpha and the Omega, maybe? I'm the oldest, he's the youngest. He sent me a little thing on Instagram. A comedian, Pete Holmes. My God is not an old man in the sky. It's a metaphor for a mystery that absolutely transcends all categories of human thought, including being and non-being, but that's too many words for the back of a quarter. So you don't miss the punchline, I'm going to do that again. That's actually Joseph Campbell, as he says. My God is not an old man in the sky. It's a metaphor for a mystery that absolutely transcends all categories of human thought, including being and non-being, but that's too many words for the back of a quarter. He says, I got all the best teachers later in life, like Barry Taylor. The road manager for AC/DC said, God is the name of the blanket we put over the mystery to give it a shape. God is the name of the blanket we put over the mystery to give it shape. Shouldn't I have learned that in church? Why am I learning this from Barry Taylor, the road manager for AC/DC? I definitely needed both the laughter and the profound truth of that little video on Instagram. Laughter is carbonated holiness, Anne Lamott tells us. It is a mystery. And in our humanness, because yes, we are fully divine, that's what the incarnation taught us, but we are also fully human. That is what the mud teaches us. And it is very difficult to rest in the mystery, to give it shape so that we can feel the truth of it at work in our lives. God and we are in each other's image. So I share this from, actually, I don't know if Edgar is here today, but Edgar shared, which was a lovely gesture. He sent me a reading from Richard Rohr's Daily Meditation, which I actually also get. So in that, this week, one of the meditations begins with some writing by Joan Chittister, Murshid Sadi Shakur Chisti, and Rabbi Arthur Wasco, who wrote a book, The Tent of Abraham, Stories of Hope and Peace for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. It was written in 2006. This story is as old as we are. But they say Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions all teach that every human being is created in the image of God. Rabbinic Midrash says that when Caesar puts his image on a coin, each coin comes out identical. But that when the one who is beyond all rulers puts the divine image on the coin of every human being, each coin comes out unique. Today, they write, and again, this was written in 2006. Today, the various Caesars of our planet insist that we must fit into a single mold, the mold of uniformity and death. The pain of these deaths and of this destruction drives some of us to forget that we are all children of the same Creator. If we are to celebrate the infinite God, we must, in the same breath, resist the idolatrous Caesars of our day, who think to impose upon us their murders. In our banks, our kindergartens, our picket lines, and voting booths, as we worship in our graceful, sacred buildings, and in our quiet forests, and on our frenzied streets, through the seasons of our joy and sorrow, in all these we must remember to welcome ourselves, each other, and all who begin as strangers into the tent that is open to all. Richard Rohr describes how each person is created in the divine image and is called to participate in the process of growing into God's likeness. What does it mean that everything created, he writes, is somehow a partial reflection of the image of God? If we don't view everything as created in the image of God, what happens is we start picking and choosing. This is created in God's image, but this cannot be. We embrace the divine essence of all beings through prayer and service. And what is service but love in action? Rohr writes of the early centuries of Christianity, where the wisdom knew that image was the objective, unquestionable creation as a child or image of God. We are all created in the image. The likeness was our personal appropriation, our unrepeatable expression of the divine, of that reality. We then choose, how do we live into that likeness? We are born, made, steeped in and of the likeness if we allow that to grow forth from the image that is in each of us. So what is love that calls us? Can you answer that question with stories from your own life? How has love called you into remembering that you are created in the image of love? How has that helped you to grow into the likeness of love? On the first Sunday of Advent, talking about hope and faith, and which is deeper? When faith feels far away because the darkness does not feel holy, we lean into hope that is sometimes hard to muster, and we lean into it as a practice that then becomes muscle memory. We talked last week about peace that is beyond the circumstances we find ourselves. And we then share that peace when we come into stillness to remember it. All of those practices bring us into the way love, friendship, family, love of community, how we mirror that back to each other. I've had an interesting week of time traveling into who are those people in my life who have shown me what love is. The easy two of my easy ways of knowing are my mom and dad, who are here with us today. I have the abundance of gift of love in an extended family where we actually all even like each other most of the time. But in that web, this week, earlier on in the week, my son Matt called me to see if I had some of his old paperwork, and that led me down a rabbit hole of pulling out some old boxes. And I actually found a paper I wrote at One Spirit, When There Is Only Love, was the song that I sang over and over and over, listened to over and over, sang over and over, that led me through a dark night of the soul. And in the writing, I went back to that moment of the fears, my heartbreak at the sorrows of the world, and my rage at my feelings of helplessness to change any of that. Met a God who is big enough to hold it all. Both my joy and my sorrow and my raging heart. If I brought my hands together in prayer, in surrender, and to finding gratitude for some small moment that brings me out of the despair and back into hope. And then yesterday I had a gift from a complicated thing I said yes to that turned out to be fun, but that took time. But again, as that, the mystery of how way leads on to way, saying yes to one adventure with friends, and a casual comment by somebody who was pulled in by the potential gift of a scone, who dropped a name from my past into my heart. 41 years ago, I received the gift of love from someone who did not know very well, a nun, Sister Bernice. She's in a memory care unit right now. But the way that Spirit winds our threads together, I was able yesterday to visit her for a few moments and thank her for letting me come and stay in the quiet for 3 days when I was 20 years old, newly pregnant, not married. My life was a hot mess. I didn't know which end was up. Bernice offered me quiet. She's the first person outside of my inner circle that I could pour my heart out to. And yet I could pour my heart out in a way that also did not burden those in my inner circle. She gave me the gift of a loving heart and open ears. And she was God. I had a chance. We don't always get that chance, do we? Yesterday, she didn't remember 41 years ago. But I could thank her. What a gift that was to remember. That other time in my own life, when my fear, when my confusion, when my worries were all that I could think about. And in that space of quiet, like Mary, whose answer was yes, despite her confusion, I could say yes to whatever that path would then call forth. I cannot answer every heartbreak of the world. Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could in person go and comfort mothers who have lost their children, children who have lost their parents. I wish I could rebuild cities that are in rubble. I wish I could mend the harm in our own country by myself with my own good works. That's just not how it works. It's not how it works. But our webs are connected, and what we do here to be love matters. It matters. And so I call us today to listen, to not get lost in the busyness of a world that is crazy with commercialism about what this season is. I call us into the depth of darkness to rest, to listen, to let the seeds of our hope and our joy, our peace, the faith that we walk together on a journey that matters here for each of us. And our love does reach. Somehow, I believe, it reaches. That is our faith. That is the blanket over the mystery that gives shape to all that we long to see. So I invite you into the heartbreak of the world. And yet I invite us into that steadfast love that we are born of, that is so freely given. In trust, we're walking together on this Advent journey in truth that we are the birthplace of the Christ. We are love. We are compassion. We are healing. And as we cultivate those gifts, we share that in all ways. And we gather together to mirror that and to give each other the gift of hope when we feel hopeless, the gift of faith when faith feels hard to come by. There is only love. There is only love. And so it is. Amen.